Hey, welcome back. In today's video, we're continuing with Unit 3, collecting data. And today we're going to talk about poor sampling methods, ways to collect data from your population of interest, but not be representative of the group that you're interested in. So our population, I pulled 3 different samples. This first sample from this population that looks like a cloud, I pulled this triangle out. From this population looks like a cloud. I pulled out a square, and then I finally got another cloud out. So this is what we want. We want the sample to be representative of our population. Now, I'm just going to talk about the 2 poor ways of collecting data in this video, and then later on, we'll talk about good ways to sample. So poor sampling methods are poor because they produce this thing called bias. They produce bias. And bias is bad. That's really the goal. You want to eliminate as much bias as possible. So bias as a term, bias is when you design a statistical study, but your results from your statistical study, the results will systematically favor an outcome. I'll give you examples here in just a bit, and it'll make this term much more clear, I think. The results will systematically favor a certain outcome. Okay, so again, I'm just referring back to this kind of picture I drew here. It's probably not the best example, but I'm going to go with it. So from our population, one bad way of sampling, one way to kind of guarantee that you're not going to be representative of the population of interest. So the first bad way of sampling, the first poor sampling method, it's called convenience sampling. So sure, you get a sample of your population, but it is going to lead to bias. Another bad way of sampling is called voluntary response. Voluntary response. Again, is another bad way of sampling. The good way of sampling is I'll just write it down here for now. That is called a simple random sample. All right, so convenience sampling, that just refers to the data was extremely easy to be collected. You didn't put any effort into it. So this would be like, I stand in front of my doorway as kids walk into class, and I ask them, how often are you tardy? Now, the first kids that are going to get there, I'd probably say, hey, I'm never tardy because they're already on time. And again, that question was just super easy for me to ask. Voluntary response would be something like, I put on my Schoology page, hey, please go to this website and respond on the effectiveness of my teaching. So only those with an opinion, or only those that care deeply about that question, are going to take the effort to actually go ahead and respond to that question. And then again, we'll talk about simple random samples and how to conduct simple random samples in another video. But just in general, convenient sampling is just ease of use. Convenient sampling, that just refers to something easy and accessible. Something just super easy, accessible. You don't have to put any effort into it. Voluntary response. The sample must opt in. You're asking them to go out of their way to do something. So only those that really care about the situation are going to go through the effort of actually doing it. All right, so let's just look at examples, and I think it'll clear up these 2 bad sampling methods very easily. So let me go to those questions I have prepared. All right, so identify the type of biased sampling method and where the bias leans in each of the following. So this first one, a politician uses a Twitter poll to find whether Twitter followers agree with the passing of a recent bill. A total of 434 responses were recorded, and the politician found that 398 of those responses agreed with the passing of that bill. So this is a convenience sample. Did not take any effort whatsoever for a politician to just set up a Twitter poll and ask her people that already follow her to respond to the question. So she used convenience sampling, which is very bad and is going to produce very biased results. Now we'll write about where the bias leans. So we know that 398 out of the 434 responses were in agreement with that passing of the bill, since the respondents already follow the politician. They are probably fans. Like, they probably enjoy listening to what this politician has to say. If they go through finding this politician on Twitter and actually following the politician, they probably like that politician. This could lead to an overestimation of how many people are in favor of passing the bill. Okay, that is the gist of what we're doing here today. The next one, after a loss, a sports talk radio show host prompts his listeners to respond to an online poll that asks if the coach should be fired. 75% responded yes to this question. So this one required some effort on the listeners' parts. They had to stop listening to the radio show, get on a phone, laptop, whatever, go to that online website, and then respond to the poll. So this is known as a voluntary response sample, because the listeners had to go, like, they had to opt in to be a part of this survey. On this one, it appears that the sampling method that they chose, sampling method, leads to more people thinking the coach should be fired. Thinking the coach should be fired. Probably not 75% of people think the coach should be fired, because they didn't really randomly sample fans of this team. They just asked people to go to this website, to opt in and be a part of this. This one, I just wanted to make you aware, The Voice, the television show on NBC, has viewers vote for their favorite contestant with a limit of 10 votes per caller. So this is another example of, voluntary response. It's an example of voluntary response. And then also, this one's not a good sampling method either, because people are able to respond more than once. So that's another source of bias in a voluntary response question. So on this one, like, the popular candidate is just going to win no matter what. All right, our last example, an AP Calculus teacher is curious as to what the GPA is at their school. To find out, he asks all 25 students in his 4th-hour class and finds that, should probably finish this, finds that the average GPA is 3.8. Okay, so this method, he was already asking kids in his class what their GPA was to find the average GPA. So this is a convenience sample. Already asked kids that were in his class. They just had to maybe write down on a slip of paper or something their GPA and then give it to the teacher. Very, very easy to do, but again, that's going to lead to bias. So hey, he's trying to figure out what the GPA is at their school, finds out that the average GPA is 3.8. So where do we think the bias leans in this situation? The average GPA of 3.8 probably overestimates GPA of the entire school. I'm thinking if a student is in an AP Calculus class, it's probably pretty motivated in school in general. So the kids that are taking this class generally get good grades, whereas a student in just like a regular Algebra 2 class that's a senior is probably not going to have a 3.8 GPA. And that's just really it. Those are the two bad sampling methods. Again, they're called convenience, where it's easy and you're not randomly selecting anybody. You're just selecting people that are easy to ask the questions to. and voluntary response, where the respondents have to opt in to be a part of the survey. So that's it then. In the next video, I'll talk about some good sampling methods and how to perform them. So hey guys, thanks for watching. See you in class. Bye-bye.